Welcome to the Ho Ho Show, rated the #1 most listened to podcast on Pluto. So join us now as we discuss news, politics, current events, and so much more. So clear the airways and strap in as we defend the Constitution. Because freedom matters.
We are broadcasting live from the Kata Studio, so welcome to the Ho Ho Show. And as always, I'm your host, Ho Ho. And I'm joined in studio by none other than Mr. Ray.
Hello.
How you doing today, sir?
I'm doing. How are you doing?
I'm doing well. So, guys, we are going to, and hello, Gavin, over there in Spreaker Land, and hello, I'm sorry, not Spreaker Land, I apologize. Hello, Gavin, over there in YouTube Land. How you doing? And hello, Machine Radio Show. Are you now? What do you mean, am I now? What you talking about, Willis? So yeah, welcome. And welcome everybody else. Welcome Spreaker, welcome Twitch, YouTube, Mixer, Periscope, and Facebook. Hope you guys are doing good. Gavin says he is doing good. So guys, we are starting the first episode in the series, Knowing the Constitution. Because with everything going on, with the talking heads and other people, you know, just wanting to throw constitutional stuff in there and everything else, that, you know, it just kind of occurred to me, how can we, as patriots, as citizens of this nation, how can we defend something that we don't know? We don't know anything about. So that's how this whole thing spawned, and holy crap, it's going to take a while. This is probably going to be a 3 to 4 month series. I'm just warning you guys right now. It's probably going to be a little long. And hello, Matt, over there in Facebook land. Good to see you.
You know, you could.
And yeah, I am broadcasting live.
You could cut down on that time a little bit if you did like 5-hour shows on it. You know,
you can kiss my gluteus maximus on that.
No, okay.
So, yeah, no, not at all. So yeah, and speaking of time, because this guy just for some reason wants me to do a long freaking show, it ain't going to happen. I am going to try to keep these kind of down, you know, as far as time frame goes. Our last episode, I know, is probably going to be at least an hour long, but the rest of them, I don't really want them to go anything over 30 minutes, is what my goal is. I don't know how well that's going to go, but, you know, hey, that's what we're looking at. All right, guys, so let's just go ahead and get into this. I'm kind of going to... All right, with this episode is what I'm covering is the Declaration of Independence, and I am just covering the main body of it. I'm not talking about the discretions this week. We're actually going to cover that on the last episode, the transgressions, and I have a reason for that. So this one is just going to be the main body of the Declaration of Independence, and in which case, this was unanimous declaration of the 13 United States of America, action of the Second Continental Congress, July 4th of 1776. All right, so let's go ahead and get into it. First paragraph. When in the course of human events, it becomes necessary for one people to dissolve the political bands which have connected them with another, and to assume among the powers of the earth the separate and equal station to which the laws of nature and the laws of God entitle them. A decent respect to the opinions of mankind requires that they should declare the causes which impel them to the separation. So let's stop right there. You see, these guys weren't... Now, let's start up a little bit. The laws of nature and of nature's God entitle them. I'll cover that separately. All right, so... These guys aren't just talking to the other citizens, okay? They're not just talking to the everybody else in the, in the 13 colonies. These guys are basically writing this declaration to the rest of the world, including Great Britain. You know,
right.
This is a Declaration of Independence. Put a different way, this is a declaration of war. This right here is a declaration of war. That's what they did by writing this. That's what they did by signing their name to it. They declared war on Great Britain. That's what they did. And they are appealing to everybody else. You know, we are appealing, that they are appealing to, you know, every major country that was around in 1776. That's what they were doing.
Right.
Oh, okay. Matt says he's going to switch to Spreaker so he can share it on the other platforms. Well, awesome. So now we're going to go to the part that everybody knows except for Biden. We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal, that they are endowed by their Creator with certain unalienable rights, that among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, that to secure these rights, governments are instituted among men, deriving their just power from the consent of the governed. Let's stop right there.
Right.
We hold these truths to be self-evident. All men are created equal. Now, here's the thing, guys, all right? When our founding fathers were saying men, they were meaning all of mankind, okay? All of Homo sapien?
Yes.
Humans. What's that called?
Homo sapiens.
Yeah. What he said, okay? Mankind, all right? A generic term, all of mankind. That's what they were referring to, not men over women or the other 10,000 genders that don't actually exist. It was all of mankind, okay? Let's get that perfectly clear. And endowed by their Creator. Now, this is why what they were talking about with the laws of nature and of nature's God, okay? And I'm just going to go by the way of freedom of speech and the right to keep and bear arms, okay? Think about it, all right? A cat, no. Any animal, it's being attacked. What's one of the things that it does? Besides escaping, it may yell something, make a noise, okay? Freedom of speech. They're protesting. That's what they're doing, all right? A gazelle has horns. Gazelle. Rams have horns. Deer have horns, okay? Self-protection. That's what they have. Porcupine has quills, okay? Nature and nature's God gave them the tools to defend themselves as a natural right, okay? And what they are referring to as, you know, with these certain unalienable rights among these life, liberty, pursuit of happiness. But these are rights that God gave them, or whatever God you believe in. God gave them this. The Creator, nature, and of nature's law gave everybody the right to defend themselves, the right to speak out against transgressions, gave them these rights given to them by their Creator. And this does nothing more than reiterate that we didn't give you these rights. These rights were already yours. All the Constitution is doing is laying that bare to say, we didn't give this to you. Why is that important? Because if the government gives you something, they can take it away. That's why that's important.
Exactly.
Brandon put in here, what, you mean we don't have to please the crown first?
Not supposed to, unless you're in Illinois.
Well, actually, technically, no. No, we do not have to please the crown first. And actually, that's the thing, too. Because we'll get into that at a later date. We'll get into that. Actually, you know what? Screw it. No, we're not. We're going to get into it right now. Our Constitution, our form of government is different, okay? This was an experiment that started a very unique form of government that has never been tried before. In the history of mankind, a government such as this has never been tried. You see, we are not a top-down form of government. We are a bottom-up, okay? Our president isn't our leader. He's our representative. We put there to represent us on the world stage. Fact. Our congressmen and women, they don't lead us. They represent us.
Right.
We put them there. By the consent of the governed, do they have their power? Without the consent of the governed, they no longer have power. They are beholden to us. They're not our master. We are theirs. Okay? Completely different than any other form of government that has ever been made. Period. Okay? Let's move on. Oh, yeah. And here's the thing, too, guys. All right, Brandon put in here, and it thrust us into the greatness that we are today. A world leader in freedom, economics, technology, and world-class ass-kicking power. Right, very true. Mm-hmm. There's another thing in here, guys, because there's a lot of things that people, make America great again. And you have some people out there, I ain't going to name any names or point any finger at a particular race or ethnic group. Okay. And hello, Samantha over there in Facebook land. Good to see you. But our founding, like with the whole race thing, okay, the Constitution by itself isn't racist, and I will prove it to you by this. And in fact, if you don't believe me, go through the Federalist Papers. We'll be covering that separately. Not going to be on this, but it's going to be covered separately. All right. All right. Unalienable rights, that among these are life. Mm-hmm. Right to life. Yeah. Liberty. Absolutely. And the pursuit of happiness. Now, in the beginning, whenever this was originally written, it was life, liberty, and property. That's actually how it was written. However, our founding fathers, they didn't like the aspect of slavery, but they also knew that with some of the southern states, that wasn't an argument they're going to win right now. So they were like, how can we word this to eliminate the argument later on of, are slaves property or are they people? So they changed it from life, liberty, and property to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Truth. I'm not repeating that. And we will now continue. That whenever any form of government becomes destructive to these ends, it is the right of the people to alter or to abolish it, and to institute new government, laying its foundation on such principles and organizing its powers in such form as to them shall seem most likely to affect their safety and happiness. Prudence indeed will indicate that governments long established should not change for the light and transient causes. In other words, like prohibition should never have been done because that was a transient cause. It wasn't actually within the purview of the federal government to change such things. Never was. And whenever it puts here that it is the right of the people to abolish a government that is no longer for the people, they meant it. Isn't that what we're here for?
Right.
They meant it. To abolish, not just abolish, but make new. That's a lot of the times the second part of that they don't really want to talk about. Abolish it. Now we have anarchy. Well, no, that's not what our founding fathers wanted. That's not what they desired. They wanted, okay, because think about this, guys, because before... Brandon, correct me if I'm wrong on this, because I'm not 100% sure on this. I think I'm right, but I'm not 100% sure. That before this, there was basically the Magna Carta, if I'm not mistaken, kind of a guiding principle, right. The prequel to the Constitution.
Magna Carta is one of the basis of how they came up with
right.
a lot of this. And when you alluded to the Declaration, that you were declaring to the world, you were declaring to the king and so on and so forth, it reminded me of, Martin Luther, when he put the paper on the Catholic Church door, he was declaring independence from the Catholic Church. So all these, the Magna Carta and everything that came before the Declaration that they came up with, that's how they got their ideas and principles from is those events beforehand.
Very true, but there was also more to it because,
right.
These guys analyzed every single form of government, constitution, everything. I mean, they went through history and was like, okay, what works, what doesn't work. I mean, they busted their butts researching this to kind of blend a bunch of different constitutions and forms of government together and make this. You know, this wasn't just a spur of the moment, let's make a constitution. It wasn't like that. These guys knew what they were doing. They took their time and researched this and did it right.
Right.
You know, and Brandon put something in here. He goes, easy enough to understand, but the feelings crew, however, would say otherwise. I don't care about the feelings crew because their feelings do not affect the truth of my argument, period. I don't care what they say. It doesn't matter. It doesn't change this. And we'll get into that later too, because, Anyway, and accordingly, all experience hath shown that mankind are more disposed to suffer with evil. Sorry, let me start that over again because apparently I forgot how to read there for a second. And accordingly, all experience has shown that mankind are more disposed to suffer while evils are sufferable than to right themselves by abolishing the forms to which they are accustomed. Sound familiar, guys? Absolutely. We are more accustomed to just go, as long as it doesn't affect me, as long as it doesn't affect my ability to put food on a table, a roof over the head. I really don't care what happens out there. It doesn't really matter to me. Bravo Sierra, guys. Bravo Sierra. You know, Brandon put in here, the Magna Carta was the precursor. The king agreed upon it, but later went against it. Yes, he did. Absolutely he did. Moving on. But when a long train of abuses and usurpations pursuing invariably, I hate that word, invariably the same, not invariably, but usurpations. Yeah, that's a tough one. Invariably the same object evinces a design to reduce them under absolute despotism. It is their right, it is their duty to throw off such government and to provide new guards for their future security. Such has been the patient sufferance of these colonies. And such is, flip page, now the necessity which constrains them to alter their former system of government. The history of the present King of Great Britain is a history of repeated injuries and usurpations, all having in direct object the establishment of an absolute tyranny over these states. To prove this, let facts be submitted to a candid world. Did you hear that? Let facts be submitted to a candid world. They were, like I said before, they were appealing their case, not just to the king of Great Britain, not just to the colonies, the rest of the colonies, but they were pleading their case to France, to Russia, China, Japan, all of them. They were appealing their case to everybody, not just the king, not just the citizens. And that's where we are leaving off on this. Okay? That's where we're leaving off on this. All right? But there's a couple important things in here, guys. A couple important things. Governments long established should not be changed for light and transient causes. It's not supposed to be. Okay? Because those powers don't belong to the federal government. The federal government, and we'll get into, you know, that aspect of Illinois as a country by itself. We have 50 separate countries, and the United States of America isn't a country, it's a federation. The federal government's job is to handle the exterior. It's to handle the big problems. It's to handle things like trade. It's to handle things like tariffs. It's to handle things like Secretary of State, you know, foreign affairs, foreign issues. That's what the federal government's here for. The interior is the job of the states. It's always been that way. The problem is, states didn't want it. And they allowed, because they didn't want to be held accountable if anything went bad.
Right.
That's what it amounts to. Yeah. It was always supposed to be in the hands of the states. We have 50 different countries within the interior of the United States of America. 50 experiments, if you will. Started off as 13, we grew to 50. 50 separate experiments as far as what type of government should we have. And basically, and this is something that we talked about the other day, any state can do whatever the heck they want to. As long as they don't violate this, they can do what they want to.
Could you repeat that last part?
As long as the state does not violate this, because this is the supreme law of the land, they can do whatever they want to as far as how they govern their people.
What if they sign executive orders, though?
Well, see, that's the thing. That would be violating this.
Oh, it would be violating this.
Absolutely, because they have to abide by this no matter what.
Wow. Well,
And we'll get into that whenever we talk about the Bill of Rights. We're going to get into that because you bring up good points.
Yeah. Somebody hashtag the governor so he can watch this episode, please.
No. We'll get into that whenever we do the Bill of Rights. So, guys, Sam put in here, so Trump is upholding the Constitution by making the governors decide what to do with COVID-19. Absolutely. He is. He's actually following the Constitution by saying, look, this isn't my job. I'm the federal leader. I'm the president of the United States. I'm not the head of Illinois. I'm not the head of New York. So, yes, it is the job of the governors of these various states to decide how their stuff should do it. Why? Because let me just look at it logically. Okay, I mean, what does New York State have to do with, or the problems of New York State, the problems of New Jersey, what does that have to do with Nevada? Nothing. It's a different state. It's different problems. It was never intended to be a one-size-fits-all.
Right.
It never was. And the governors of the various states, yeah, they want the reins to, this is, okay, they want the reins, they want to hold on to the yoke of the jet. They want that yoke. They want the power to the throttle. They want that. They want the reins to the horse hauling the wagon, but they want the president's name on the horse, on the wagon, because they want the president to be responsible for anything they do, but they want the reins.
Exactly.
Doesn't really work that way, but that's what they want. That's what they want. Do you have anything else to add?
Right. Oh, I'm sure I could add quite a bit, but you wanted to keep this shorter and brief, and we would be here all day.
Not really on this part, because really, if we go too deep into this, we're touching base on the rest of it. What's important to note here? This was a declaration of war. This was treason. High treason, declaration of war, high treason to the crown.
Mm-hmm.
That's not a good thing. If we would have lost the Revolutionary War, everybody that signed this would have been enemies of the state. They would have been
hanged.
They would have been drawn and quartered. It would have been bad. They put themselves on the line for this. That's what people don't understand. The term is 20/20 hindsight, but yet people don't understand the gravity behind what it is that they did. This was huge. This was absolutely huge. Islam put in here, he goes, the governor's too busy eating, he doesn't care. It kind of seems that way.
Yeah.
It kind of seems that way. And Brandon puts in here, thus giving the power to where it belongs, the people. Yeah. And they knew this, and that's why Washington killed in their sleep on Christmas. Yeah. He put a nice spelling of a word over there in YouTube. So, yeah. Yeah. So, yeah, guys, that's really all I got for this episode. I thank you guys for joining. Thank you guys for taking part. More to come. And guys, this is going to be a trip because there's a lot of information here, a lot of things to cover, and a lot of things to get to. And Brandon and I, host of the Machine Radio Show, he has alluded to needing to do, again, this is going to be a separate, it's not going to be all together. It's going to be a separate thing, but needing to do the Federalist Papers and, to be fair, the Anti-Federalist Papers, in which case I agree, because there's a lot of stuff in there, some of which we may be covering through the Constitution, especially whenever we get to the Bill of Rights. But, just kind of the hot button issues is probably, I don't know. It's a work in progress, guys. It's a work in progress. So, yeah, and thank you, Islin over there in Spreaker. He said, awesome series, sir. Can't wait for more. Yeah, this is going to be a trip, guys. It's going to be fun. So, thank you all for stopping by. Thank you for participating, comments, and everything else. You all have yourself got anything else to say? Just remember, evil triumphs when good men do nothing. Exactly. I couldn't have said it better myself. So, good night. Sleep tight. If the bed bugs bite, well, by golly, bite them back. Take care, guys. This has been The Ho-Ho Show. For more information, you can head to thehohoshow.com. And for the merchandise store, you can head on over to stinkpickle.com. That is stinkpickle.com. Until next time,